Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Now today I'm going to make a puff pastry Christmas tree, which I'm going to have 2 layers of puff pastry, and in between that I'm going to put a layer of pesto. In my case I'm going to use a sun-dried tomato pesto, but you can use any. And in fact you can actually do this Christmas tree with something like cinnamon sugar, or with Nutella or something like that if you want a sweet version of it. This is just something that is sort of tear and share, very simple to make because I'm going to use ready rolled puff pastry that you can buy in the supermarket. So very few ingredients. Now I start off with my oven preheating at 200 Celsius, that's 180 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and I've got some baking sheet, a baking sheet ready. This is one which has no edges or no rims around 3 of its edges, so it's easy to slide the Christmas tree onto it, ready for baking. I'm also going to do in a separate video a Nutella version, but instead of doing the Christmas tree I'm going to do a round of that, just so that you can see that you can use Nutella with the puff pastry, and you can do whatever shape you want. So I have 2 sheets of puff pastry, and I have a couple of tablespoons of the sun-dried tomato pesto, and it's leaking some liquid, and as I spoon it out I'll try to avoid too much of that liquid because we want the puff pastry to cook properly. So what I'm going to do is take another spoon and just put the pesto onto the first layer of puff pastry, which I've taken out. Now I have to say, if you find that the pastry is getting too soft, then you can always put it in the fridge to chill it. And what I'm going to do is just spread this around. I may need a little bit more. It's about 2 heaped tablespoons is what you need. And then I'm going to unroll the second sheet of the puff pastry. And I'm going to lay that over the top of the first one. Like that. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take a knife and I'm just going to make a couple of little cuts. That's going to be the stem or the trunk of our tree at the base, and I'm just going to cut those pieces off. And then what we want to do is to make the shape of the tree. So for that I'm going to take my knife and make a mark just about halfway, and then from one corner of the pastry I'm just going to mark it down roughly like that. So that will give us the shape, and then I'm going to cut that and I'm going to peel off the excess pastry. Make sure it's cut through. And I can reuse that pastry to make some star shapes if I want to. So that's our Christmas tree shape, and then what we want to do is to cut slots along there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just very lightly score a line, and I'm going to let that narrow in a little bit. Like that, and do the same with this one. And then I'm going to take my knife and cut strips. And with the lines cut, what we need to do is pick up, and without tearing, twist like that. And so there I've got 2 twists, and I can do 2 for most of them, I think. But you may only do 1 for some. And with that twisted like that, so I've done 2 twists on most and then just 1 twist on the smaller ones, and there's the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just brush that with a beaten egg. And I'm actually going to then sprinkle just a few sesame seeds. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it, or you could do poppy seeds. And I'm then going to bake that in the oven for about 30 minutes, but I'm going to keep watching it because it may take less than 30 minutes for the pastry to cook, and that's all we're wanting, is the pastry to cook through without burning. And then once it's cooked, I'll take it out, let it cool down, and I'll come back and show you the results. Our sun-dried tomato pesto Christmas tree has baked, and it's cooling down now. This is what it looks like. So it turned out quite well. I actually baked mine for 25 minutes, and I think it's perfectly okay. Now I have some offcuts, so I'm going to taste one of the offcuts. That does taste good. I get the flavour of the sun-dried tomato pesto, but the nice flakiness of the puff pastry as well. This is very, very easy to make, and as I say, you could do a sweet version with Nutella or cinnamon sugar or jam or anything you wanted to. You could do this savoury version, and you could actually maybe grate some parmesan on top of the pesto or something like that if you wanted to as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well for that. And I will be back with another recipe in the very near future, so until then, happy baking.